Okay, let's continue with the IEP and how to complete it for the Professional Practice Project Part 3. So we've just filled out the IEP goals, and now we want to record what accommodations or modifications we need to make for the students. So you're going to fill in the top information, and then you're going to get to a list of accommodations. Typically, we're not doing modifications because they're in preschool and they're in preschool special ed, so there's nothing academic. Remember, accommodations are made to support the student, modifications are made to the curriculum. So we don't usually need to worry about modifications in preschool. So think about the accommodations. Now, the accommodation should be something in addition to best practices that the student needs, and you want to make sure that wherever, if the child were to transfer, that the receiving teacher, receiving school would understand what helps the child to be successful. So best practices like working one-on-one with the teacher. That is something that we would not want to put in a legal document, because if you put working one-on-one with the teacher, number one, that's an instructional strategy. So you're not putting instructional strategies in here, but also this is a legal document. So if you put in one-on-one working with the teacher, then there needs to be a one-on-one aid that goes with that child at all times. So you have to think about what kinds of accommodations, visual prompts, verbal prompts, physical prompts. Those are not accommodations that you would necessarily put on this sheet. Those are strategies that are successful, and you would write it into your IEP goals, but you would also put it in your present level of academic achievement and functional performance. That's where that kind of information goes. This is special accommodations. For example, a child might need a visual schedule. I would still think that's good teaching, but you can put a visual schedule here. You can put a visual timer. Sometimes students need visual timers, so that would go here. Sometimes students need adaptive equipment, whether it's a stander or a special seat, or if they have fine motor issues, it could be that they need special tools to write with, special tools to eat with. So that's what goes here as far as accommodations. So you would put down the accommodation, write it out so it's specific. For example, my child has a hearing impairment, and when he was in elementary school and in middle school, he used an FM system. So the FM system was always put down as an accommodation. Whether or not he had hearing aids, he would use it with hearing aids, and he would use it without. It just looked different. So that was an accommodation that he needed to have and went with him to every school. So those are the kinds of things that we put here under accommodations. The frequency, a lot of times we put daily or as needed. If it's something that's more specific, that's what you're going to put. You're going to put the name of the school, where is it used, the instructional setting, is it in the classroom, is it in every setting in the school, special education and general education? When is it? And then where? This is just giving the details about when these accommodations need to be made. And then the duration is usually the dates of the IEP. So it would be the date that the IEP starts the date of the meeting or the date it's signed. And then it goes until 1 year minus 1 day. So I'm recording this on November 12th. So the IEP would be November 12th, 2019 to November 11th, 2020. That's how you would write the duration. So this is where you're going to go ahead as a PLC and decide what are the accommodations that you need to make for your case study child, and you'll put them down there. So we're going to move on, and this information you just check no. This is preschool, so we're just checking no. This is for SOLs and for standardized testing that all children participate in once they get to elementary school. It's not relevant for us in preschool, so just check no. We're not doing division-wide assessments. So that's all a no. Same thing. All of this is just no. We're not doing SOLs. We're in preschool. So we're going to keep going, keep going. We don't do alternative assessments because we're in preschool. So then you're going to get down to the least restrictive environment. This is a statement that's required by regulation. So there are two places that you're going to address least restrictive environment. Excuse me. The first one is here when you're writing services. And then there is a place down, you can see it's on the next page, at the bottom of the next page. This is where you write your statement of why the child needs to be in the setting that you are indicating. For our kiddos in preschool special education, it's usually a self-contained preschool special education classroom. Sometimes they're inclusive, but you have to be specific and put exactly what setting they're going to be in and why it's important. So that is also can be known as the LRE statement. So we're going to go back up to this section, and this is where you're going to write down what services does your kiddo, your case study child, need. And you've got, look over here, there's a note. If you scroll over, there's a note right here. So let's start with the easy parts and go to the harder parts. Duration, just like we talked about accommodations, it's for the life of the IEP unless it's going to be different. As we write these for this class, write it as a wraparound IEP. That means that it's a continuous 1-year IEP. Don't worry about the summers. Sometimes some school divisions write it with the summer excluded, but most school divisions don't. So let's just write it from the day of the IEP meeting to 1 day less a year later. So as far as disability area, just put primary and preschool special education. They don't have multiple categories of eligibility for the most part. So just put primary, and then percentage special education service. Because we only have primary, just put 100%. So that's if a child in, say, elementary was found eligible as a child having a specific learning disability and a speech language impairment, then it would be how much of the special education services are addressing the specific learning disability and how much, what percentage of time is addressing the speech language impairment. So this is not something that we really deal with in preschool special education. This would be primary for us. This would be the dates. So again, this is easy. Moving backwards, instructional setting, just make up the name of a school, and you would put that. Most likely, you're not going to put the name of a school on an IEP that you're filling out in a school division, but you will put whether it's going to occur in a general or special education setting. That's going to be something that you have to work with your individual school divisions. In Fairfax, for example, in Fairfax County, preschool special education classrooms are self-contained special education classrooms. They don't have peer models. They're not inclusive. So you would put special education classroom. In Stafford County, the early childhood special education classrooms, most of them, not the specialized ones, but most of them are considered general education because they have students with disabilities and they have peer models, and they usually have a 50-50 mix. So in Stafford County, teachers teach three-year-olds in the morning and 4-year-olds in the afternoon, and their typical caseload or their expected caseload is 4 students with an IEP and 4 peer models in the morning, 4 students with IEPs and 4 peer models in the afternoon. That's a 50-50 split between kiddos with IEPs and peer models. So that's considered a general education setting. So that's what would go here. And then this is the frequency of how often these services are going to take place and what is the specific service. So this is where you're going to write for your focused child, do they need to be in an ECSE classroom? Do they need class-based services? And for most of the case studies, you can just put ECSE classroom and expect that they need to be in a class-based, a preschool special education classroom. For the speech language impairment child, maybe not. Maybe they're just going to get speech language. They're going to get speech therapy and that's it. You decide as a PLC. If that's so, then you would not write an ECSE classroom, and your goals, your objectives, your annual goals would reflect that. So again, if you have a child your case study child, you're going to put, and they need to be in a ECSE classroom, you're going to write ECSE classroom over here on this document. For the frequency, again, it depends on where you are. In Prince William County and Fairfax County, usually the kiddos are in class for 3 hours. I don't know if it's 3 or 3.5 hours per day, 5 days a week. In Stafford County, they are 3 hours a day, 4 days a week. So it depends where you are, what the frequency is for those self-contained classrooms. So, or for the preschool classrooms. So you would have to figure that out and write it down here. Now, you would also write your related services. So if your case study child needs speech therapy, you would write speech therapy. If they need physical therapy, you can write physical therapy or PT. And if they need OT, you can write occupational therapy or OT. How much do they need it? How much do they need it to access the curriculum? So this is not on the medical model. So they would not get OT, PT, and speech 3 times a week. Most likely they would get it once a week. And that would be it. Sometimes in extreme cases, they might get OT, PT, or speech twice a week, usually for no more than 30 minutes. Remember, these are young kiddos and their attention span is short. So the related services are usually for 20 to 30 minutes. So you decide as a PLC what is appropriate and fill it in here. And I'll provide a lot of feedback on your IEP. And so just do your best when you're filling out this section. It is hard when you've never been in special ed and you're just learning. So just do your best and I will give you feedback on this section. So then you're going to go on and continue, and we don't need to do this right now. ESY is extended year services is summer school. Do these kiddos need to be in summer school? For the most part, it's no, but we're not going to fill that out in this course for this assignment. This next section, as far as the placement, is filled out differently for different students and different school divisions. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get rid of this email that keeps popping across. So generally speaking, you have to consider all placements and then select your placement. So you can just put X's, or you would select all of these sections over here, and then are you going to put them in a special education classroom? Are you going to put them in a general education classroom? What setting did you just select up here? So this part right here needs to reflect over here, and you can see that. And then we talked about the LRE statement over here. And then you scroll down and the parent would give permission on the day of the IEP. So you just need to fill in the top and that's it. And that is all you need to fill out for part 3. You can see that there are many pages that are missing. There's a lot of explanation pages that VDOE adds in that I took out. You don't need to have all of those. And then there are some that are relevant only for older students, and so you didn't need to have those in this document. So this is an abbreviated document, but it works for this assignment. And again, please just know that this is not what the IEPs look like when you're in the school. If you are in a school right now as an IA, or you have some other role in school systems and you have access to IEPs, this is not what they look like because they do have a different format, but this will give you an overview of the information that's included in IEPs. So hopefully these videos were helpful, and work with your PLC members. I'm sure that working together as a team, you'll understand it better. And if you have any questions, you can email me or post them on Blackboard. Thank you so much.